We are joined via Skype by Dr. Mustafa Fetouri, an independent award-winning Libyan journalist and author. He is in the Libyan capital of Tripoli. Dr. Fetouri, good evening and thank you for joining us on The Globe.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Fetouri, EU diplomats and foreign ministers have basically stated and believe that foreign interference is exacerbating instability in Libya. What's your take on this?
Well, that's very much the case. It's actually widening the war inside the country and very likely to withdraw other countries who are supporting different sides, particularly Mr. Haftar. But I would like to point out that the EU countries, especially the major countries like France and the UK, for example, which is leaving soon, are in a very difficult position because what Mr. Erdogan did, sending his troops to Tripoli, he actually signed an agreement, if you like, a security agreement with the government of national authority of Tripoli, which is recognized at the request of the Europeans as the only legitimate government in Libya. So it's a kind of mess they created in 2011, and then they found the same mess again when they created DNA in 2015, and now they are blaming Turkey for it. That's hypocrisy.
Now, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has basically stated the fact that him as Turkey sending troops to Libya is to, ensure that there's stability in the country. How does this work?
Well, that's not true. Unfortunately, Mr. Erdogan is against troops for his own purposes and for his country's national interests, and also trying to repeat it history decades ago over 200 years when Turkey was an empire and was controlling Libya and the entire North Africa. It's unfortunately Mr. Erdogan, in fact, of paying attention what is really good for Libya, and what we're trying to do is to establish his kind of military presence like southern banks of the Mediterranean for his own benefit. It has nothing to do with the stability in Libya. He's actually part of this destabilizing the country, and he's very likely, as I said before, the war is very likely to widen inside the country by withdrawing in other countries who are opposing his move, particularly Egypt in this regard.
Now, looking at the situation in Libya and the fact that, the Libyan government is fighting an insurgency of rebel forces under a General Khalifa Haftar, which is based in the eastern part of Libya. And, General Haftar is backed by Egypt and the UAE, while the UN-backed government is supported by Turkey and its ally Qatar. What are they basically, fighting for, and that we as the people of the world are not really seeing and understanding? And why is this fight continuing? What's the underlying issues in Libya?
Well, to understand, to have precise answers, precise answers for these questions, we have to go back to the year 2011, about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, almost next month. At that time, the West committed a very horrendous mistake in Libya by forcing the international, the UN Security Council to issue a resolution 1973, which authorized the military intervention and ultimately destruction of the country and the murder of its leader, the late Muammar Gaddafi. And the problem is that intervention, which is spearheaded by France and then taken over by NATO countries and other countries as well who are not NATO members. The basic problem or the basic mistake they committed, they had no plan for the country, for Libya. what will happen to the country once the regime has been deleted and toppled and is finished. And that's what happened in October by the murder of Gaddafi himself on the 20th of October 2011. And they had no plan, if you like, for the day after, what will happen in the country the day after. They assumed very ignorantly that Libya will be a paradise by the time just the threat of Gaddafi and everything will be fine. Well, that's not true. That's what happened. And then they tried to amend this mistake they have made in Libya back then by bringing up different Libyan factions and political parties who are very limited in terms of influencing national events in Libya. And they brought them together in Morocco in 2015, and they had to sign the Libyan agreement, or the Libyan political accord, if you like, which gave rise or gave birth to the Government National Accord, the GNA, which is based in Tripoli. And that the other mistake, or the third mistake, if you like, repeated by the United Nations in this case, was that it was very quick. The Security Council adopted the resolution 4259, which recognizes GNA, the government in Tripoli now, as the only legitimate government in Libya. It's not, we have to make a difference here. It's not the only government backed by the United Nations. The United Nations does not back the government, this government. But what it does, which is also complicating the situation, it accepts this as the only national government in Libya. And we go back to what I have said before. Mr. Erdogan, what he did, he signed an agreement, security cooperation agreement with this government, which is recognized by the UN and recognized by Europe and the United States as the only legitimate government in Libya. So the only way to solve this, however you say Mr. Haftar is a legitimate or insurgency or rebel or whatever names they call him, the fact is he is very popular in the country, and the armed forces he is leading has actually control over 85% of the country. And just yesterday, they took Sirte, which is in the coastal area and in the middle of the coast of Libya and the Mediterranean Sea, and it's a very strategic location. So I would think even if there's an expansion of the war, as I said before, it will be limited around Tripoli, since GNA and its loyal militias have already lost Sirte yesterday. So to get out of this mess, actually, which is a little bit complicated for the outside world to understand, is to do away with the GNA government in Tripoli, which is presumed to be, or supposed to be from the beginning, to be a transitional authority for a limited period of time, a maximum 2 years. Now we are going into the fourth year with the same government and with more failure at almost everything. This government does not provide any kind of services to the people, and it's controlled 100% by the militias in terms of its security, military-wise, defense-wise, and financially. They are depleting the Libyan resources inside and outside the country because it's under the control of the militias, and such militias are using the legitimacy, quote unquote, of the GNA, the government in Tripoli, to say that we work for the government. In fact, they don't work for the government, they work for themselves. And I believe
Dr. Fetouri, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you for your insights on the situation in Libya. That is Dr. Mustafa Fetouri, an independent award-winning Libyan journalist and author, joining us via Skype from the Libyan capital, Tripoli.